Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my podcast or my YouTube channel. I'm Will Caminada, the multidimensional guide, and I'm here to help you awaken, heal, and expand your consciousness. Today, I'm bringing a conversation episode, and I had the absolute pleasure to talk to Benny R. Ferguson Jr. Benny is a channel and the founder of Consciousness Ascending, which supports conscious creators in uncovering the nature of the source within and accelerating the experience of their desires. Benny channels the being known as Abraham. And so in this conversation, we talked a little bit about his spiritual awakening and how he got into channeling. A few tips also if you want to start channeling. And then he explains who Abraham is or are. And I asked a few questions. And so we had Benny channeling Abraham, and I'm sure you will find their answers very insightful, very inspiring, encouraging as well. Abraham talked a lot about high vibration, frequency, and state of being. So it's a beautiful conversation. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did, and I hope you feel the high frequency of this transmission, I want to say. Enjoy the show. Hello, Benny. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, Will, this is awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a part and to be a supportive of what you're doing and the knowledge that you're offering people. This is awesome.
Likewise, I love your t-shirt that says Consciousness Ascending. Uh,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're going to be talking a lot about consciousness ascending in this conversation. Maybe would you like to tell us what this means to you? Is it something that is it a brand of yours or something?
Yeah, well, it's the brand. Yeah, I've never ever said that, but I guess it's the brand. That's the name of the community slash endeavor that I have created. Consciousness ascending is basically what we're doing on this journey. Our consciousness is ascending through the experiences that we're creating, whether we're conscious of the fact that we're creating or not. We're creating experiences that are getting logged away, and that we evaluate when we leave this body, and then we move to the next. We decide and we go to the next and the next, and our consciousness is ascending along this whole path. And one of the things that I'm coming to grips with is that the good and the bad are perfect and a part of the process. It's like, so when you really begin to understand that, you you can let go of a lot of the low vibrational conditioning. I'm like, okay, this happened. I understand it. I see that it happened. How can I understand it in its highest form and integrate it into me and grow from it and move beyond it and be stronger because of it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a completely different way than normal people when we normally look at it. I know that's different from how I would look at things, but because we don't look at our challenges or issues or whatever it is that way, that's how we get stuck. And we can get stuck for days, we can get stuck for years in an experience. It doesn't matter how traumatic it was. The more traumatic an experience it is for you, that I have learned, the more light and strength there is on the other side of it. Once you grow beyond, not get past it, but grow beyond it. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And for anybody listening or watching and they're sort of wondering what consciousness means, maybe they have a feeling of ascending as in progressing or evolution.
Mm-hmm.
How would you define? I know it's a difficult question because it's like, how do you define
Uh,
consciousness? How do you define God or source? And
right.
it's always a tough one, right? Like the Tao says that the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. Something along the lines of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But how would you explain it to somebody that might have this question of what consciousness is?
Well, that's exactly it. And as you asked that question, that's what I had on me, that consciousness is the totality. And anything that you try to point to is not it. It's inside of it. Uh, the mind that we all have and participate in is inside of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I use source. I could use consciousness, but I use source instead of God, because God has a human connotation. It has this connotation. It has so much that I like, okay, I want to use source instead of God, because God is more open. I mean, source is more open, source is more expansive, source is more inclusive. But even saying source, I don't know if that's consciousness, because consciousness is still everything. Everything is inside of it. But at the same time, we have to understand that we are a part of that everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're a piece and part of it, which means that everything that consciousness is, everything that consciousness does, we can do, because we're a part of it. It's us and we're it. There's no separation. So, well, I guess that's the answer. That's the answer. It's the whole thing, and we're a part of it. And if you try to point to one thing, then you're off a little bit, because everything that you can point to, whether physical or non-physical, is inside of
Yeah.
consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. All there is, I guess. But even that, it doesn't reach that feeling. And I guess I love what
Yeah.
you said about like us being part of it and being it too, because sometimes people might hear, oh, consciousness is ascending or Mother Earth is ascending, and thinking that's something that's separate, or that's something that it's doing on their own time, but you're it too. So your ascension is essentially Mother Earth's ascension and vice versa, right?
Right. Right. Which explains that pull that everybody has, that pull or push to do a little bit more, or to reach for a new height. And that's why we have that extreme inner conflict, that I think everybody knows what that feels like, when you feel like there's something you could be doing, or a person that you're not yet that you could be, and you can feel that pull between that and who you're being right now, or what your experience is right now. That's consciousness, that's source, because consciousness is expanding through us, and not just through us as human beings, but through every entity that might be out there. It's expanding through them, it, however you want to describe it. And that push that we have to go to the new height, or create that next thing, that if we can't do it because of our mental conditioning, creates conflict. And that's consciousness urging and moving through us. So that's the truth of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Love how we started just, straight
Yep.
to the point. I love that. And I like what you said about God too. But I think mostly because there's been so much conditioning over so many thousands of years, right? That
Yes.
even the fact, for me personally, even the fact that people um think of God and they think of a male figure,
Yes.
or
Yes.
it God is not just male or female, is everything, right? Both
Right.
feminine and masculine energies. And
Right.
even just saying this is, it's a limited perception of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
my personal perspective.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. The same thing. It's funny. I'm trying to think of what I used to say or what I heard, but it's like, if you any source can't be any one thing. What was it? It was like any one thing. Source can't be any one thing, right? If you, like you said, source being the immediate interpretation, even from women, is that source is a man. It's like, well, it can't be. If it can't be one or the other, it has to be something else,
Yeah.
right? And you're leaving out the rabbits and all of the animals and everything. It has to be something else. It can't be any one thing. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's the condition, like you said. That's that programming that we. It's so subtle and so strong that we miss it, even though it's right there in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the path of what we call spiritual awakening or even ascension, we can say it. It's that it's just questioning, right? The things that we've been told and taught. I think for me, it's the first biggest step that says you're awakening is when you start questioning the things that you've read in the Bible or the books or the things that you've been told when you were little. Just questioning, not saying this is right or wrong, but what else,
Right.
right? And so let me just take you back to your spiritual awakening, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you're channeling,
Yes.
but how did you get from years ago, maybe not having this awareness that you have today, into today where you have this expanded awareness and you're actually
Yeah.
and I know that
Yeah.
can be like a long story, I know you have books on it, but maybe if you can give us a snapshot of it.
Sure. It's interesting how it's interesting and really cool how we kind of moved into this, because that's what came to my mind. And you were talking about having that awareness, and you know, I can remember when I kept trying to remember if I was even in school yet. That I grew up and I had a Christian background. My
Thank
parents were in the church. I was in the church, probably up into my 30s before I actually stopped participating, feeling like there was more. But I can remember very, very small, and I'm questioning the idea of unconditional love on this side, but judgmental on the other side. It didn't make sense to me. The idea that an individual in another part of the world, or even a child who has no idea about a philosophy or a religious teaching, can be condemned and they don't even know anything about it. That didn't sit well with me. And I want to say this is before I even started elementary school. So I had something there, you know, even then, of course, I didn't know what it was. Um, Will, even back then, after I can remember having what you would call nightmares as a child, that I would wake up from. And those nightmares, I would always feel like something was behind me, chasing me. But it was that idea where I'm trying to run, but I can't really run. And it's like I'm trying to pull my body along. And, I would wake up terrified, and I'd wake up screaming, scared, not knowing what was happening. But I think in those moments, I was kind of trying to be contacted or urged. And now I'm like, okay, how come I never turned around and said, okay, what do you want? I never thought to do that. I would now, but even back then it was going on. And then I continued to have, I didn't know it at the time, I continued to have, I'll say, many out of body experiences. I had them in college. They would happen when I would be sleeping on my stomach, and I would be able to see the room. I could see my roommates. And it got to the point from scaring me to where I would try to get somebody's attention, but I could hear myself not being able to talk. I would just be making sounds. I'd be trying to get somebody's attention to wake me up. And then I got to the point where I forced myself out of it, kind of almost getting upset per se. Um, and then, of course, that was in college. And then years later, I've always tried to be in business for myself ever since high school. Uh, always knew everything that I needed to know, knew everything in the sales situations. I would know everything that everybody knew around me, even though they were being successful, making money, that type thing. And I wouldn't be able to because I couldn't bring myself to set the appointments, and there would be extreme fear inside of me. There would be, I know now, fear of rejection, a number of ideas connected that would be stopping me. And I remember coming back from a sales meeting one day in a neighboring city, and I was asking myself, what is the matter with you? I don't understand what is going on. I know everything that these guys know. Some of them I know more than they do, but I'm not able to be as successful. I need to make money. I'm not as able to be as successful as they are. And I remember I was so upset, and I was banging on the steering wheel, and I was crying, mad at myself, not understanding what was wrong. And I'm not sure the time frame between that and my out of body experience, but I I woke up one night, and I had just had another nightmare, and I was in an anger rage. I was standing, I know I wouldn't sleep. I was standing beside my bed, and it felt like fire was coming off of me. My wife coming around her side of the bed, she was begging me to calm, asking me to calm down. And then for a split second, I could see my body, and I could see my wife in front of my body begging for me to calm down. My vision was 360 degrees, and it felt like a long time, but it was just for, you know, a split second. And I can remember seeing and feeling, I can still feel how mad I was and the heat around my body. And like a puppet, I was trying to hold my body to keep it from attacking my wife. I was so mad, but I was like, in my mind, no, 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 no. And then I was back. And from that point is where I started looking first for what happened to me, because my religious background didn't explain it. So I had to go outside of that, but I was still in religion. So I went through the major spiritual traditions of the world. I went Buddhism. I read the Bhagavad Gita a few times. Uh, read the Quran, the Tao, as you mentioned earlier. Looking for what happened to me, and then it went from there to quantum physics, psychology, all kinds of things to get to, in a sense that it created a base of knowledge for me to move into, years later, kind of where I am now. But in a sense, that's what started it. And after that experience for 2 weeks, it was like I was walking around. That's what it felt like, is that I was walking around. If you could imagine me walking around outside, looking up in the sky, thinking or asking what's really going on, what happened. I don't understand. I know I'm more than this body now, but I have no idea where to go with it. But I asked the question, Will. I asked the question, okay, if this is what I have thought was true is not, what control and power do I have in and over my life then? That's the question that I have put everything that I have learned, everything that I have come in contact with, I put it under that umbrella. Because there's a lot of stuff that we can get drawn to, especially when you start talking non-physical, there's a lot of direction that you can go. And that one question has kind of helped me stay in a single path, in a single vein. And that's kind of what I'm striving to support people now with, because I try to feel like I'm focusing on the foundation, which is our vibration, our energy signature, and the contents of our mind. If we were to focus on those, in my experience, focusing on those two things eventually makes everything else make sense.
Yeah.
Your vibration and the contents of you have to continually play and practice with lifting your vibration, and begin to learn how to unravel the contents of your mind. If you do those two things, you accelerate your expansion. If you do one of them, it affects the other, but it's a slower process. If you affect both of them at the same time, that accelerates the process. And that's, kind of how I got here. With the channeling part, in 2012 was when I started channeling. And I wasn't channeling Abraham at the time. I'm pretty sure I wasn't, but I never asked the question. I started with the writing. Actually, not writing. I started with the typing. And I knew I was channeling, or I knew I was doing something different because I was using words and I didn't know what they meant. I had to look the words up after I finished to see what they meant and to find out that everything had flowed perfectly, and it was way more profound than I would ever have thought to write. And then that, with that experience happening, I realized that I had channeled before. Will and I, when I was in college, I would get, and I'd have a paper to write. I'd have all of the research, all of the information together, but I could never, well before the paper was due, but I couldn't write the paper. And I would have everything, and I would sit at night and have everything out on my desk and not be able to write. But then the night before, at like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, interesting, I say that now, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. But at that time, I would sit and I would write the whole paper. I'm talking about 3, 4, 5 pages. I would write the whole paper that night before and get a good grade on it. And I know now that I was channeling then. That wasn't me that wrote that whole paper, in those instances. But I set the stage for the writing of it by setting myself in a space and focusing on that one thing. And I didn't know it then, but being open to the information coming. So I don't know if that was setting the stage for now also, but I can see how it came through me versus me doing it. The papers would come through me back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Thank you for sharing. Just want to quickly circle back to your story. And I think it's a great takeaway for everybody listening or watching what you said about having that question as sort of an anchor where your
Yes.
foundation is. It's so important. Like you said, when you awaken, it's like there's so much information, even I think now more than before, 5, 10 years ago, right? So many
Yes.
books and so many podcasts and so many YouTube videos, so many teachers as well. And I think there's it's great when you're curious and you
Mm-hmm.
want to learn more and want to hear, because you hear different perspectives, different schools of thought. But having that question as an anchor is really important, because you don't lose yourself on the path. And
Yes.
like you said, it's almost as if you get to a point that you realize the parallels and you kind of go, I think they're kind of talking about the same thing in different ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so that's really important. Thank you for sharing that. And to your channeling story, I think what you said, it's also so profound and simple at the same time, because I believe that we are all channeling too, to different levels, to different extents, but that idea that you have is a channeling
Mm-hmm.
experience, right? I realized that I was also channeling when I was writing songs, and the lyrics would come, the melodies would come into my mind. And so
Yes.
everybody is a channel. I like to say that. And then when you believe it, you start developing, right? How did you get to, you said you started typing or writing.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get to develop your channeling skills?
I set the intention. The truth is, I said I wanted to, but I set the intention. I'm not the only person that's channeling Abraham, and I have listened to other channels channel Abraham for a long time. Like I said, I knew I wasn't channeling Abraham initially. In the initial, I could feel the presences like lay on me because I could feel their vibration. And some vibrations would be really, really fast, and some would be really, really low. And then once I asked the question and I knew that I was channeling Abraham, and we began to, you know, converse, and I would ask them questions about what I was doing. And they told me that I had done this before and that I had was going to do it again now in this lifetime. Um, but they said that, well, I asked, was the low vibration, was that negative? Because a lot of people are concerned about getting in contact with negative entities and that type thing. What they said was, well, just make sure you're in a high frequency. if you make sure you're in a high frequency, there's nothing to worry about because your energy goes out first. If you're in a high frequency, high vibration, you're feeling good, you're in joy or excitement, whatever it is, then that's what you're going to connect with because the universe is about frequency and tone. Uh, but they said that no, the low vibration didn't mean negative. It doesn't necessarily mean negative in energy. It just means that was that entity's vibration. Because I remember, I would write and then I would also speak and record it, and the information was profound. I probably still have it on the recording somewhere, but it was just the feeling. And in my mind, we're taught when you start low vibration, or we're thinking negative, positive, but negative, positive is not necessarily low vibration, high vibration energy. It's not exactly the same thing. So that's what they were able to tell me that. So like, oh, okay, it makes sense, because even in that idea, the information that I got from that particular entity didn't match my thinking. Okay, was this a low vibrational entity? And so that it made sense to me. But yeah, very interesting. And like I said, they told me that I had done this before. And as far as the channeling part and everyone channeling, they say that it's just a matter of frequency.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of, but your guides, your support team that's around you, always family, they don't come down. They don't come down in frequency. You have to go up in order to perceive the communication.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and don't try so hard. When you make it a big deal, you make it difficult. Think of it as a normal thing, a normal thing that's easy and that's fun, and just be open to it. That's pretty much because we have people that ask us about being able to channel and how to channel, and you have to grow into it, but don't make it a big deal. Play with it, have fun, be open to it, and it really is as communicating to yourself that I can do it. If other people can do it, we have the idea of people having gifts and things. People can have a higher propensity towards something, but if another human being can do something, and we're talking about inner things, we're not talking about being able to dunk a basketball. We're talking about inner work,
Yeah.
right? If other human being can do it, and you see them do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of growing into it.
Love it. Love it. Just a quick recap. You said setting the intention. Intention is so powerful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't understand sometimes how powerful intention is, but
Yeah.
it's really setting that intention to be a channel, practice, right? Have fun. This is really important. Raise your vibration as well. And what you said about just having fun, because fun and joy is a high vibrational state.
Yes. 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 We make the vibration thing so tough.
Yeah.
We make the vibration thing so tough. When we get asked the question, people ask about how to lift their vibration. It's like, however you want to. Favorite song, a favorite memory. Think about a favorite location. If it feels good, it's going to lift your vibration. Right. It's going to lift your vibration if it makes you feel good. And you just understand that you're reaching for higher. But in the reaching for higher, you're reconditioning your body. It's not just a positive thinking thing. You're reconditioning your body every time you do it. That's why the consistency is so important. And when you're consistent at reaching for a high vibration, what happens eventually is that you open yourself up to ideas born of that level of vibration, thought patterns born of that level of vibration, perspectives on life and interpretations of life events born of that level of vibration. And you'll know when that happens because the ideas are going to be different from anything that you've ever had before. And when that happens, you know that you have grown a little bit. But we don't know that. We don't know that if I'm consistent at reaching for a higher vibration, that it unlocks, not really unlocks, but we understand is what that means. It unlocks the information of that level of vibration. But the key is consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also loved that you said don't make a big deal out of it, because that in itself just kind of takes the pressure off, you know,
Yes.
like trying so hard and you're surrendering
Hmm.
to the experience.
Hmm.
I guess that maybe the aspect of trust and believing the feeling, the information, whether it's vision or telepathy, I think that's maybe one of the biggest challenges for most people. Even for me, like
Hmm.
in the beginning, and even to this day, sometimes I'm like, really, trust
Yeah.
it. Okay, just trust it, just believe it, right? What would you say for anybody who is interested in channeling, or simply they're just in their spiritual practice, wanting to connect with their higher self or their spirit guides, and maybe they find it hard to turn up the trust. Um,
Yeah.
what would you say?
Yeah. Well, that trust piece, just trusting in what we know and have learned, about the law of attraction and all those things, and really understanding what that means, that our energy goes out first and foremost. And even before we have an intention, even before we have anything we want to manifest, our energy goes out first. And trusting in that idea that that's what's getting reflected back to us. So if you get in a high vibration, whatever you're doing is going to work out well for you if it's laced in that color, if it's laced in that sound, if it's laced in that feeling, right? So that's the first thing. So one of the things we suggest is prove that to yourself. Do it, experiments, go out and for no reason at all, smile and see what gets reflected back to you. Carry that feeling. And then if you want to, I did it, go out in frustration and see what gets reflected back to you. Right? Prove it to yourself. Prove these things to yourself. Don't just believe us or believe anybody that you're listening to. Take a moment. I mean, everybody wants to rush into abundance. Everybody wants to rush into the successes of life, but you have to take a moment and build that foundation of knowing and trust and belief. Go prove these ideas to yourself before you try to use the understanding on those areas of life that are really, really big and emotionally charged. Because if you don't, what you end up doing is amplifying the resistance you have to what you really want, because you really haven't built the foundation of understanding of that, of what you're doing in the process that's occurring inside of you. Because it's very, very, the creative process within is very delicate. It works on what you have your attention and your focus on. And outside, you can be saying that you are abundance and you are wealth, but on the inside at your core, you could be focused on not being poor. You could be focused on lack and scarcity. And if that's your focus, that's what you're expressing from your core, and that's still what you're creating. And some people still create a level of abundance, but they're working so hard and they're pushing uphill to acquire it. And it's not supposed to be that way. Life doesn't have to be that way, especially for those of us who are coming into this type of understanding. But you have to take a moment first and build that foundation, that knowing for yourself by proving these ideas to yourself.
Yeah, knowing for yourself. Yeah, because that's how humans work,
Yeah.
right? We tend to look for the evidence, for the proof,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying is really helpful. Like build the evidence, try it for yourself if that's
Yeah.
what we need. And I think that that's part of being a human with the
Mm-hmm.
so that's
Mm-hmm.
really helpful. Let's talk a little bit about Abraham, which is the being, the entity
Mm-hmm.
that you
Mm-hmm.
channel, and I relate to what you were talking about. Like maybe you were channeling them before you were even aware, or maybe not. Um, because in my journey of channeling too, I today I know that I channel the Pleiadians mostly, but
Yes.
in the past I didn't really know. And I connected with my father as well, he's in the spiritual realm.
Mhm.
And I remember they gave me a name, the Guardians of Love, and I liked it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna use this. And then when they sort of revealed that they were the Pleiadians, because I started becoming more aware of them, then I was like, yeah, that makes total sense because they are really all about, love and oneness and unity consciousness. So the Guardians of Love made so much sense.
Wow, that
Uh,
is fantastic. Yeah, that is fantastic. They told me that my name was Asham Ra, which means master of the light. So yours being the guardian of love, that is fantastic. Yeah, that is just tickling me incredibly. That's fantastic.
yeah. And, and what I was also thinking is that in a way, it kind of doesn't matter much
Right.
if you know who you're channeling, or even if people listen to you and they know that it's Abraham or the Pleiadians or whoever. It's the frequency and the message, and if you believe it, if it makes you feel good, if you take something from it, then
Yes.
that's really all that matters. But for our curious human mind, we like to know more about these higher dimensional beings, I guess, because that also gives us a sense of relationship as well, right? Like they're friends or their family, and we're building that relationship. At least that's kind of how I feel too. It's like
Right.
building friendship, really. Like you get to know each other in the beginning, and then you develop uh,
Hmm.
that bond. Having said all of that, can you tell us a little bit more about Abraham, the being
Hmm.
that you channel for? Most people might already be familiar with it, but if not, please tell us a little bit about Abraham.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Abraham is a collective, and it's my understanding that we're all a part of some form of collective. But Abraham is a collective of beings who have shared and created experience for who knows how long, but they have evolved to a level of vibration or frequency on their own, and they are just being supportive of humanity, striving to be of support of humanity, and in so doing, it's also supporting their evolution. And
Mm-hmm.
when we have sessions with individuals, they tell them, they say, as much as you believe yourself to have benefited from this conversation, we have benefited from this conversation, and we thank you for that. They say that every time.
Yeah.
So it's not a higher or grander or lesser thing. Even with them and us, where we are in our development, it's a collaborative thing, right? But Abraham is a collective, and the example that I guess they give, I'm gonna say I came up with it, but that they give is that, say you walk up to a house with a family that and they're having this huge gathering. There's a lot of people in the house, and you can see them laughing and talking. And you knock on the door, and say the mother answers the door, and you have an awesome conversation with her, and you leave. And then you come back a little bit later, and you knock on the door, and the second to the oldest son opens the door, and you have an awesome conversation with them, and then you leave. That's what it's like interacting with Abraham. It's not always the same. It's not always the same entity, but they are of the same mind and intention.
Mm-hmm.
And when you listen to me, or if you listen to anybody else who's channeling Abraham, and you listen closely, you can feel, you can see and hear a subtle difference. Sometimes, often actually, when you really get tuned to it, you can hear like the intonation of how they communicate. And if you're in tune with the feel can be a little bit different. It's a different entity inside of the collective. Sometimes I can feel the difference, and I can hear it and feel it in when I'm communicating sometimes, that it's a different entity than yesterday.
Mm.
And so, it's like going to that door, that house, and a different person in the family answers the door, but they're all of the same mind. They all have the same understanding because they've all participated in their experience and in their journey. So when you talk to them, you're going to get similar information, but it may be from a different perspective. But it's the same family.
Mm-hmm. Perfect analogy. It's a perfect analogy for, I don't know, collective consciousness.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It are they the same collective consciousness that Esther channels, Esther Hicks?
Yes. 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 It's the same collective.
Great. Would you be happy to channel for us?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. I feel like they've kind of been participating already, just not completely directly, but they've already been participating. Yeah, because this has been a fantastic conversation. So yeah.
Thank you. So I'll have some questions to
Okay.
Abraham. Do you have any process that you get into it?
No, I don't have any process. They're always here, and the only thing is I can say that I perceive their communication from this direction. It's always been from this direction. It's never been down here or in my body. It's always this angle is how I perceive the communication coming in. But they're always here, and I don't have a specific process or anything.
Me too. It's the same.
Really? Yeah.
And I used to think that because I also practice breath work, I facilitate breath work sessions, and it really helped me to sort of enhance my channeling skills.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I used to think that I needed to go through like a half hour of breath to be able to connect, and then they were just like, you don't need that. Just take a few deep breaths and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to hear that you're like, yeah, no, I just connect, and yeah, that's great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So let's
connect. Yeah, we're here, and we've been here, and this again has been a fantastic conversation for individuals who are on this path and expand, and to listen to others who are on the path and maybe just a little bit further ahead, just a little bit, that you can learn from and know that you're not alone. You're not alone on this journey. This journey is similar but different to your other human friends who are in a similar position. You have your own mix of ideas and experiences that have precluded your present moment now and that are urging you forward, and each one does, but at the same time, each one is expanding, is evolving, is beautiful, and is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your presence. I can feel the high vibration. Thank you, Abraham and Benny. First question that I have, since we're talking about this journey of expanding the consciousness, from your perspective, what would you say is the thing that humans most struggle with at the moment when it comes to their individual expansion of consciousness, also knowing that the individual journey is part of the collective?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Self-value. Self-value. This is an idea that has an incredible grip on humanity, and it's the result of conditioning. It's the result of programming. You have to understand that one of the things that we are developing with Benny is an understanding that you can look out in nature and see the truth of source being expressed constantly, which is at the same time the truth of you. And a flower doesn't have to do anything to be worthy of the sun. Yes, a flower has to do nothing to be worthy of the sun. And just because you perceive yourself or have been taught that you're the highest creation, and you are the highest creation on the planet with the highest mental capacity, but there is no hierarchy as far as who is better or who is worse or who is smarter or any of those things that you use to categorize each other. There's no idea of value or worth in source, because you are, period. You are source. So there's nothing that you have to do to be worthy of anything. The only thing that you have to do on your plane of existence to manifest a desire is to become it. And there's no one stopping you from becoming anything. It's an inner process. Become it. You have an intention, you have a desire, you're inspired in a certain direction. The faster you can become that which you are in the picture that's already experiencing the desire, the faster it has to materialize around you. There's nothing stopping you, but you can stop yourself. You're so powerful that you can create the presence of a thing or the absence of a thing, depending on your attention and your focus. Your inner creative process is your power, but you have to be meticulously aware of the material that you are sowing, while simultaneously understanding that you are conditioned to a certain position. And you have to begin to unravel those ideas while at the same time being aware of what you are placing your attention and your focus on. Self-value, self-worth, self-esteem, all of these things. An individual who has no challenge with self-value or self-worth, they explode into their ideas. They explode into their possibility, and they figure it out along the way because they don't care what anybody else thinks. Somebody who has a challenge with self-value or self-worth, they hesitate. They're slow to act. They're slow to move. They don't believe in their potential and their possibility. This is the biggest challenge of humanity at the moment.
Thank you. So you talk a lot about vibration, and Benny has already told us a few things about vibration. Can you tell us the importance of holding a high vibration, and is it possible even to be in a high vibration all the time?
Yes. Yes, many of you now are achieving higher levels of vibration. And it is possible. You just have to understand that it is a conditioning. You have been, think of a baby. Think of a baby and the joy, the laughter, the smiling for no reason at all. For no reason at all. Your conditioning is what has programmed you out of that. You carry so much weight, so much expectation, all the shoulds that you have been taught from family and friends as you have observed their lives and their struggles and their misunderstandings and their misinterpretations of who they are. And therefore, they have taken on the ideas that are being perpetuated by humanity that you have also accepted. And you are in a low vibrational state that is not conducive to smiles and laughter for no reason at all. And yet a baby is there. All of you see that. You've seen that. So yes, it's a returning back to. As you unravel the mind and as you reach for higher vibration, no matter how you do it, favorite song, favorite color, embody the feeling and resonance of the purity of a rainbow, a favorite memory, favorite vacation spot, favorite memory at a restaurant. It doesn't matter what you use to increase your energy signature, your frequency, your tone. It's about the consistency and knowing that you are reconditioning your body. You are reconditioning your body. But what does that do? In your reconditioning your body and reaching for a higher vibration, the first thing that starts to happen is you begin to flush out ideas born of low vibration, because you are entertaining a level of frequency that's different from the frequency of which low vibrational ideas were born. And they don't go quietly into the night. They don't just disappear. You flush them out and they become conscious. And then you have to work with them, understand them, transform them. But this is a conditioning process, reconditioning yourself to the state of being of that child, of the child that you were at one point, that was able to laugh freely. We used the example with a client the other day. If you've ever seen a seasoned monk communicate and how they bubble sometimes into laughter and how their conversations can be light and joyous and fun, it's because they have reconditioned their mind and body. They have achieved a level of vibration that is conducive to that free flow of energy, of which laughter is a part of. Laughter for no reason at all. It just bubbles up. Yes, you can. And that can be a normal state of being. It can be a goal. It can be an intention, but it's not, it's the result of a play and practice of reaching for higher vibration. Just understand that you are reconditioning yourself. And when you understand that, you know the reason why. And you will know as you move up, because again, Benny stated this, as you reach higher frequency, as you attain a level of consistency and expressing a higher frequency, there are ideas born of that level of frequency that will begin to make their way into your being, thought patterns that will begin to make their way into your being, perceptions, interpretations that will begin to work their way into your being, born of that level of frequency. And when that happens, you will know that you are on the right track, because there will be thoughts, patterns, there will be ideas that are not your norm.
Beautiful. Thank you. I would love for you to perhaps draw a parallel between frequency and emotions, which is something that humans feel a lot. And I'm just thinking that sometimes we might feel that feeling a certain emotion like sadness, frustration, or anger, guilt, it could be seen as a lower frequency and perhaps suppressed. Is there a role for lower frequencies or what we perceive as negative emotions?
Yes. Well, there's a few things there. First off is that when we speak of vibration or frequency, it is different from emotion. Your vibration is a constant resonance. It has consistency that you are offering. Emotions come and go. You can see an emotion rise and fall within the body, and yet your vibration is consistent. And because your dominant ideas within your mind are consistent, they are established, and they are causing and working together with your energy signature and supporting it and creating a energy signature based on those ideas. So your vibration is consistent because your dominant ideas within the mind and body are consistent. So they're different. Your vibration and your emotions are different. Now, emotions can be born of a level of vibration. Just like if you're in a higher vibration and you feel excitement and joy at that moment. Say you're leaving a excellent movie and you're walking with friends and you're talking and you're laughing and you're talking about the movie and how awesome it was, and you can feel that excitement come up and bubble up inside of you and go down and come up and go down. That you're in a high vibrational state, and those emotions are connected to that high vibrational state. But if you're in a low vibrational state, say you're carrying the idea of your being angry at another or frustrated with another friend, spouse, partner, stranger, and you're carrying these ideas and you're in this place, well, that vibrations born of emotions, born of that level of vibration, are going to be a match to it. So your vibration is first, and then the emotions that you feel on a consistent basis are going to be born of that level of vibration. And an example that Benny came across, and he and his wife were on a vacation, if you will, and this is the first time that he had been on the idea of a vacation for more than 3 days or so. They were gone for 7, 8 days. And it took 3 days for him to relax into the idea that there was no rush to get back, that there was no rush. The idea of time, and that there's always a shortage of time, that there's always something that needs to be done, there's always a next. There's a weight that creates, that humanity walks around with. That is what we're talking about when we say there's a constant resonance, a constant offering based on an idea. We know that many of you understand how this feels, that constant weight of there not being enough time, that constant weight of feeling like you need to rush, the constant weight of feeling like you don't have enough, not enough money, these type things. It's a constant offering. It's a constant resonance that you're offering. And this is not emotion. This is born of the ideas within the mind and body that is causing you to resonate this energy in accordance to the ideas constantly. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you for clarifying. Yes. And since you touched on the financial money topic, so can you tell us a little bit about the frequency of abundance in general? And then maybe we can talk a little bit more about specifically building or allowing that financial abundance to be poured in, because Benny just a few minutes ago gave us the example of somebody who works really hard. Maybe they will do their affirmations and meditations, but still they're not in that abundance frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about this topic, whatever is coming?
Yeah. Yes. The idea of abundance is very similar to every other idea. The idea has a feel. The idea is of a certain vibration. If you put its contrasting opposite, if you will, beside it, abundance feels a certain way, lack and scarcity feels a certain way. And most of humanity is tuned to one and not the other. And therefore, that is their experience to some degree. To some degree. Now, you have to understand once again that it is a conditioning process. It's a programming process, and you can affect it two ways. You can look out in nature, or you can observe someone who is successful in a way that you desire to be in your life as a conscious creator from a beautiful perspective, not a comparative one, not a judgmental one, but a beautiful perspective, and look to the feeling of it and know that in that feeling is the existence, the presence, the manifestation of abundance in your life. You have to express it. And to be able to express it, you have to identify how it feels and consistently strive, play, and practice to express that vibration, that feeling. And know again that you are reconditioning yourself because you are conditioned to a certain level of abundance, of financial expression. It's very simple. It's the reason you can look out to a family and see that the children find themselves in a level of financial experience very similar to the one they were in when they grew up, very similar to that of even their extended family. It's because they are of the same mind and the same vibration. Now, yes, you have the exceptions. You have individuals who break free. Think of the idea of a performing artist. You have your many different artists that, Benny's Mind, a rapper or someone like that comes to mind, but many different artists come from difficult backgrounds, but they are able to move into, through the expression of their passion, move into a level of vibration that allows wealth and abundance in. Think about the process. They got around people oftentimes who were expressing an abundance mindset. They moved and allowed themselves into the expressing of the beauty and the joy and the excitement of that which they are passionate about, whether it was surfing or whether it was playing the guitar or singing or whatever it may be. They allowed themselves to situate in that feeling, in that idea. And in that feeling, it's very close kin to the feeling of abundance. And therefore, they began to allow it in because they were expressing it. But it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an athlete or a performer to situate yourself in the feeling of abundance. And it may not be an immediate thing, but you have to understand that you are reconditioning yourself to that vibration. Reconditioning yourself. This is always the point at the foundation of your being. Reconditioning yourself and knowing that you, at the moment, if you're not experiencing that which you desire, no matter what it is, you are offering a vibration and you are holding ideas that you are expressing, resulting in the experience. You must become that which is in the picture of the experience you desire. You desire an abundance. You desire abundance. You desire wealth. You desire freedom. You desire the weightlessness that feels. You have to become that you that is in the picture. How does he or she feel? What does he or she think? What is hers or his dominant ideas? This should be your play and practice, identifying the ideas, identifying the feeling, the vibration of that you in the picture and becoming it as quick as you can, playfully as you can.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Looking at the collective now, and when it comes to financial state, why is there so much discrepancy currently in the world? Meaning some people with a lot of money and financial abundance or freedom, and some people, I want to say most people, with not so much. And is this going to change in the future, in this new earth that we're ascending into?
The discrepancy is in the ideas. The discrepancy is in the vibration once again. And there's a mistake, a misinterpretation, a misunderstanding that there's a good, bad component when it comes to the experience of wealth and abundance. There's not. There's frequency. If you are tuned to abundance, you can experience abundance, whether you are perceived to be good or bad. There's no such thing. It's about frequency and tone. It's about vibration that yields an individual's experience. individuals who are experiencing incredible. This is how you know that working hard does not necessarily equal abundance, because many of the individuals who are experiencing the majority of the wealth on your planet work very little. They work very little, but they're tuned to the frequency. Whether they found it on their own or whether it was programmed into them to a degree from a child because of their family circumstance, they're tuned to the frequency, of which every human being can do. Each of you now are growing, whether directly or indirectly, into that frequency by understanding yourself. The more you understand yourself, the more you understand that you are vibrational, that you are energetic before you are physical, then that will eventually move into the idea of, okay, so that means money, wealth, abundance is vibrational, is energetic, it's not physical. That means relationships, the types of relationships that I desire are energetic. They have to do with frequency. They're not physical. Health and well-being, as high as I can imagine it and create within my body, is energetic, is vibrational. It's not physical. Every area of life. But your experience can be compartmentalized. You know individuals who are excellent at their job and terrible at relationship. Ideas, energy, vibration. This is what's at play. If you can take a moment, take the faces off of the people around you and interpret your experiences as ideas being played out, energies being played out. It makes it a little less difficult to begin to unravel the truth that is being expressed and reflected around you as experience.
Yes. Thank you. Just one last question. When it comes to this ascension that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, Earth's ascension, humanity's ascension, from your
Yes.
perspective, from a higher dimensional perspective,
Yes.
how is humanity doing? And yeah, how is this going from your perspective?
It's going well. It's going awesome. Because here's the challenge. The challenge is in your media idea, that which is being seen, that which is being presented is only one side of the story. And you understand what we're saying. There's a lot of low vibrational happening. That has what has been conditioned as important, as necessary to know by humanity. And that is what has been taken on by your news sources, your media sources. This is what they show. They very rarely show the good things, the good times, right? Been conditioned to that. And so that's why that's the norm of the offering. But simultaneously, those of you who are open to this type of information and you're getting it from your different social media platforms, you notice the numbers of channels out there that are offering tremendous support to humanity. You notice the numbers of viewers of the material all over the world. And what that means is that there is and there's always a balance. There's always a balance. What that means is that what seems to be a huge amount of negativity from your perspective being presented through your media sources, there is simultaneously a massive growth of individuals such as yourself who are striving to express higher vibration and to grow energetically, that is happening at the same time. And higher vibration always, 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 and will eventually on your planet overcome lower vibration. And when that happens, when this critical mass is occurred and surpassed, you will begin to see on the surface the changes occurring, the light that shines, the beauty expressed and experienced that begins to be the norm. This is happening. The shifts are happening. And in the shifts, you have to understand that there is chaos that occurs. Think about an earthquake. Think about an earthquake. The shaking and the shifts begin to happen. And at that point where the highest velocity is, the highest impact, where the earth begins to tear itself apart, that's the chaos that occurs in the process. But there's two sides of it. There's always two sides. And right now you're in that chaos is happening, where you see one side and it looks really, really big. But on the other side, the growth and the expansion and the beauty that is expanding and the light that is revealing itself, it's happening too. It's just not being presented. It's just not being shown, but it is happening. And it's happening through each of you. You have to know that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we thank you for your assistance in this ascension. We know, as Benny said, that our evolution is your evolution and your evolution is our evolution. So it's very it's good news. It makes us very happy to know that we are not alone in this ascension journey, and we're just very grateful for your presence and your words and your messages. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes. Well, we're thankful for the opportunity to share. And not only are you not alone, you have to understand that you are powerful, that you are a creator, that you are endowed with the same potential of source that is creating worlds, universes at this moment, and that you are at the center of your verse. And that the collaborative components that appear as people and things and events in your verse are in support of you. You have to understand that. Keep playing and practicing with the information that you are calling to you. Build the understanding, build the belief in yourself, and then begin to explode outward with your inspirations leading the way, and your light will shine immensely. Again, we are thankful for the opportunity to share, thankful for each of you offering fertile ground for these transmissions. And yes, we do benefit from these conversations as much as you believe yourself to benefit. And for that, we thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you, Rebehan. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's
Wow.
awesome. I know those that are meant to hear that's going to be powerful. It's going to be powerful. It was powerful for me. Even when I listen back to channelings or when we have sessions with individuals, a lot of it's for me, you know, through the clients. A lot of it is exactly what I need to hear.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. And it's so good. I can feel the high frequency and the high vibration, and it's very joyful. Thank you so much. I think yeah, a lot of people will benefit from the messages. I'll definitely watch it again and take the insights.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just to wrap up our interview, I have some final questions that I call fun and deep.
Yes.
So just whatever comes to your mind, just
Uh-huh.
to say. Actually, I'll skip the first one because that's how we started the conversation. What's your definition of consciousness?
Okay. Okay.
So we talked about this. So the next one is, since we're talking about high vibration and joy, what brings you joy, Benny, in your life?
Oh man, what brings me joy? I tell you what, I love music. I love good singing. And, my wife had to get situated in this. I can go to an event or I can listen to a song, and it's not so much about the words, it's the music. And I can listen to it over and over because of the feeling that it creates with me. But then in a week or so, it'll be a different song. And what, as I say that, I realize it was supporting me in my vibration. I didn't even realize that until I just said that what was happening. But I mean, I still do that. I'll have a song that I'll enjoy. It may be an older song. Right now, I'm listening to an older song that feels good, and I'll listen to it. And my kids will say, "You listen to that song again?" And my kids know a lot of old songs because of me playing them over and over. But in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it may be a different song.
Yeah.
But that's the type of thing that brings me joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Music and sound is
Hmm?
so good. So good to shift the energy within, right?
Yes, and sometimes if you're not in a good place, it can take a minute, but just know that the more you situate yourself in it, whether it's a song or whatever it is, you begin to lift and you can feel the change. You can feel the difference. Like I said, it may not be immediate sometimes, but if you just stay with that feeling and keep trying to identify with it, your body responds.
Yeah.
Your body responds and your energy will change. Yeah.
Beautiful. Hypothetical question. Now, imagine that all the books in the world were going to be destroyed, deleted
Oh
forever,
man.
but you can save one. Which book would you save and why?
Wow. Wow. My mind just kind of goes through a blur with that because I've read so many, and a lot of my core books they say similar things. Uh,
It's difficult, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, when I first watched The Secret, the movie The Secret, I didn't just take what they were saying. I would think I was in kind of a research type phase. Well, I'm still in a research phase. But I went to all of the speakers' websites. Some of them had book lists and some of them had different information. I looked for what they studied as they were expanding, and I read those books. And I watched those things that they watched. And Bob Proctor talked about Thomas Troward, Troward, and he wrote books that were somewhat metaphysical, and he also wrote books that were higher perspective of the Bible that I was highly familiar with, and those were very powerful for me at that moment. His books, so those were very powerful for me. So that's what comes to mind high when you ask that question. As
Mhm.
I think,
Is there a name of one of these books?
all I've got right now is him as the author. I don't have a particular book, but there were I want to say 3 or 4 books. I know he wrote more than that. Where there was 3 or 4 that I actually purchased and read that really impacted. But I just have his name. I don't really have a specific
It's,
title of one of the.
I'm just asking in case,
Yeah,
people are curious, they want to Google. Great.
yeah, they're on there.
And what is one thing about you that people might be surprised to know?
Hmm. I'm a martial artist. I'm a martial artist. Have been for a long time. I train for physical conditioning more so now. I love watching it. I love watching mixed martial arts and that type thing. I love watching sports. And when I watch them, I am watching, as probably many people or athletes do that are participating in a sport. You're not just watching the sport. If you're like me, you're looking at the strategy and everything that's going on behind it. And I enjoy that. As part of the reason why I'm coaching my son's basketball team at the Y now. We've got a game this evening. You know, it's the strategy and the competition behind it that's fun for me. It's actually exhilarating for me, but it's really fun. Like I said, it's not the competition. It's not punching and kicking out. It's the strategy.
Yeah.
It's like it's all chess. It's all chess. It's not checkers. But if you're not engaged in it, you don't see it that way, which is fine. But yeah, I doubt most people would know that unless I told them. You wouldn't see me
Yeah.
if you're not with me on a when I'm working out or anything. You won't know.
Yeah. Wonderful. And last question, it's called Three Truths.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a hypothetical question, but let's suppose that many years from now, you're about to make the transition from this physical plane into the spiritual
Mm,
plane,
yes.
and all of your books, all of your videos, all of your work has been deleted or destroyed.
Uh,
And
uh,
you have a piece of paper, a pen, and you can write your three truths, and they will stay here for all of us, for your kids and
mm,
family. And what would be those three truths that you would write on this piece of paper?
oh man, look to yourself. Look to yourself. Trust yourself. That's one. Um, feel good. Your vibration is key. That's two. And know your mind. Know the contents of your mind. Is it taking you toward what you want or taking you away from it?
Hmm.
That's
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
And anything that you would like to share, projects in the pipelines, programs, and also how can people connect with you?
Yeah. Let's see. In the pipeline, I'm working on right now a high high frequency shift challenge. Hoping to start that here in the next month or so, where I support people in what we talked about, just reaching for a higher vibration and seeing the effects in their life of just expressing a higher frequency without having a desire, without having anything that they're trying to manifest, just watching the effects on their life of their vibration and just trying to reach for higher and be consistent at it. One of the things that we'll probably do is that I did and that I suggest to people is set your phone. Everybody has a cell phone. Set your alarm every hour. Just check in with yourself and do something, not some long meditation, but do something that makes you feel a little bit better than you are, and then go about your day. But in that challenge, we're going to be looking for the reflection of that. We're going to be looking for the impact of that. And we're going to be looking inside of ourselves to see what resistance comes up as a result of playing in that higher frequency. That's one thing. And then I'm working on a training program that I'm going to offer for individuals who want to be in close contact and support of Abraham and myself on a weekly basis. And there's a I think 6 or 8 modules that help people understand the foundation of their being, the vibration, the contents of their mind, and we have a process that we support people with that we would use that with them on a weekly basis, and that they'll have to directly cut into any ideas, any conflict that they have, to where you glean the information from the idea, whatever it is, or the collection of ideas that's resistance, so that you understand it, you get to the root of it, whether it's in this lifetime or another lifetime, and you understand the misinterpretation that occurred between that idea and your truth. And then once you understand that, you have power over it. So then we flood that idea with the highest vibration, the highest light, and we notice any changes that occur, which is always changes. Either it dissolves or it manipulates in some way, it changes inside of the individual. And then once that's done, we establish the highest vision of that person free of the idea and sew it into them. And I use it and it's been a powerful process. You can immediately feel the difference. You notice that the emotion around the ideas is dissipated. It's very transformational, but that'll be a part of it. It's something that we will support people with weekly that they can engage in and really, the point of all of this is to help people accelerate the process of unraveling the ideas in the mind. Because I've been at this thing for a minute and I have done a lot of it myself. I've interacted with people and I have tried and used other people's programs and things and kind of this has worked for me, that's worked for me. And then with Abraham, we've developed things as we've been supporting people. So being that direct contact with people, I've always wanted to walk with people because it still feels like even with the workshops that we do and the one-on-ones, I really don't like, not don't like, I don't want to say that, but as impactful as it is, I would like to be in close contact with people versus interacting with them, supporting them, and then they're going off on their own. That's never been what I wanted to do. I want to be in close contact and walk, like the idea of walking beside people.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, we did this, you're gone. That's not what I want to do ultimately.
Yeah. That's
as far as
people too, right?
Yeah. I have a free training that individuals can get. It's at www.iamthediscourse.com. It's about a 30-minute training where Abraham kind of talks about the power of the individual, who we are as individuals, and the power that we have, and some of the misunderstanding why we don't know it already, and that, of course, that has to do with our conditioning. Also have at www.abrahamoneonone.com is where you can go and you can, see testimonials and you can watch the videos or you can read about individuals who have had private sessions with Abraham and see what they have to say about the perspective that creates shifts and the support that they were able to get in that. And in there, you can find that there's a free introduction, a free 30-minute introduction, and then there's the full 90-minute paid private session that individuals can get support in. Yeah.
Great. And so this 101 is basically the client asking you questions. How is the session?
Yeah. They're able to ask questions, any questions. We have questions running from passion and purpose to my mom transitioned, and I still feel I'm so attached to her that I can't move forward in my own life. And then we move from that to whatever an individual's highest intention is at the moment and what they feel the resistance is. And then from there, we support them with the process of going in and unraveling that resistance so that they're free of it. Like I said, whatever is the biggest thing for them at the moment that they feel that's the most important thing that they need to work on. So that's what we support them on.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. As usual, I will put all the links in the description. So if you're listening or watching this, would like to get in touch with Benny, you can find the links in the description. And Benny, I want to acknowledge you for your high frequency. I feel very good after our conversation, during and after our conversation. I hope everybody listening and watching can also feel this beautiful high frequency energy that you and Abraham bring. And just thank you for your work, for being a channel, for being a bridge between planes and worlds, and just helping us to ascend individually and collectively. So thank you for shining your light.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. This has been awesome to be able to share and be of support on your platform that you've created. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching or listening to this episode. If you would like to learn more about Ben's work, you can visit his website, follow him on YouTube and Instagram. I'll put all the links in the description. And once again, if this has brought you value, if you found this episode to be useful for you, please share it with 1 or 2 friends who will enjoy this too. And I'm sending you so much love. And as always, keep shining your light, keep your heart open, and let love lead the way. I love you. See you in the next episode. Bye.